everyone,
Okay.
and welcome to another episode of Living Room Wisdom, where your story is your glory. And oh my goodness, we have quite the story to share today, quite the conversation to be had. My guest today is Miss Andre Davis. And Andre is a celebrity hairstylist, designer, wig designer extraordinaire who I've actually known for much of my life. So, hi there and welcome, Andre. I'm so happy to have you here. So, introduce yourself in your own words.
You said introduce myself in my own words.
Yes, who is Andre Davis?
I don't know. Well, that is, I am Miss Andre Davis. Nice to be here with you again, because I think we're catching up for lost, we're making up for lost time and
Totally.
catching up because I hadn't seen you prior to, when were you last time in New York when I say, was that a year or two
About
ago?
2 years ago.
Maybe
Yes.
like a year and a half.
Yes.
And so, seeing you like two times in a month, it's like I struck gold for some
I
reason.
know. I think everything's timing. It's divine timing. It's no accident that we've reconnected during this time where you've been in such a big transition, which we'll talk about. So, just to give our audience a little background, I've known Andre since I was a child, probably 6, 7, 8 years old, growing up in New York City. And Andre was a
Yeah.
good friend of my mom and my aunts, who were all actresses and singers and models. So I grew up in an entertainment family, and Andre's always been an extraordinary hair designer. And you did,
Thank you.
I remember specifically, you did the hair of Taylor Dane, which is like, oh, one of my
That's
faves.
so funny. And we still are in contact with each other. After all these years, when COVID came and everyone was shut down,
Yeah.
I did pretty much what we're doing now. I'm catching up with everybody, and all the people who I started with, I had introduced you, including your aunt Susie. Couldn't catch up with your mother, but I interviewed Taylor. We talked about fun times going on tour with her and how fun it was and how time goes by so fast.
Yeah, it does.
It's crazy.
It
It's
really is.
crazy how
Time
time
is
goes by.
just a construct, and you can't get caught up in it. You just got to live your life every day because you don't know how quickly it's going to pass you by.
Exactly. It's like it's not promised. So you gotta just keep going and living your best life and doing all the things that you always wanted to do.
Mhm.
And that's pretty much it. That's what I do. That's how I live my life. Each morning I wake up and I ask myself, am I holding faith or fear? And I don't have time for fear. So I
That's
gotta keep
right.
moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you get into hair? Because I've always known you to do hair, but what's that origin story?
Well, I think I started with I had a lot, three sisters, and I actually was, doing my mom's hair. My mom had a crap load of long hair, and I started with them. And I actually started with my friends, in school. I gave a lot of jacked up haircuts, in the process, trial and error. But I've always had a passion for it and always doing something different with my hair. And then doing friends' hair and doing different styles with them. And then I started getting into like more hair extensions and braids and that sort of thing. And yeah, that's how I basically started, like grassroots. It's like in my house, and anybody that let me do their hair, I was doing it.
So it sounds like it
Yeah.
was always your calling. Like it doesn't sound like you've had too many other career experiences other than hair.
Well, I'm an artist, so I did sing as well.
I did not know
I was
that
in
about you, Andre.
I did. I was in little groups and stuff like that, and did go
Wow.
back. I don't know if you remember my friend Cherise Davis, not related,
Yes.
no relation, no relation.
Yes.
And we actually did some stuff together. And Phil, I'm sure you think,
Hmm.
I don't know if you remember Phil.
I remember Phil.
Bill's a singer. We did some stuff
Ah,
together, and he did background for me when I did like a lot of stuff. And then I decided that I mean, I think I just pushed that back because my hair business was so much
right.
happening there.
Yeah.
So I just went with that. And then after that, next, I was having kids, and then,
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we're going to back up just a little bit. Next thing you know, you're having kids. Let's talk about the Andre that was, right? Who you were
yeah,
as a child and
yeah.
kind of what that looked like. And let's take the audience, obviously in a condensed way, on the journey to the Andre now.
Well, I'm far different from how I used to be as a kid because I was painfully shy, very quiet and shy. Um, I come from a family of, I'm the youngest of six, actually. So, but I always seemed that attention was always drawn to me. Don't even ask me why, but and I was always curious, always trying new things, even though quietly doing that. And in school, even though I was shy, I was always in talent shows and stuff like that. But after I depart with that, I was just very into myself. And I had a few friends, all of them my girlfriends, never really had any male friends, always was always drawn to the girls because I felt I was, that's my community, that's my connection. So you know what? When I think about it, I am different, but I'm not a whole lot different. That shyness still is in me. It's a part of me that still lives. And there's another alter ego that comes over, takes over, and I'm like out there in the world,
Yeah.
and doing my thing and here talking to you. So yeah,
So
but
that's
it's not
Andre
like
that was. And just for clarity, Andre that was, your origin story is that you were biologically male, correct?
yes, I was.
So tell us about the journey of growing up feeling as if you were a woman, just like your girlfriends, and living
Yeah,
internally as a woman, and what
right,
that looked like throughout your life to get you to the stage that you are now.
right. Well, I've always knew that I had a sensitivity like a woman. I always felt like I knew what they were talking about. Then when I was hanging around with guys and trying to connect with them, I was like, guys are kind of stupid. It's like they don't get it. Because I think that, not all, but I think that women are more emotionally intelligent and
Yeah.
intuitive. And
Mhm.
I was always like that. So talking, like even me and your mom get together, sometimes we don't say a word, but we can almost hear what each other is thinking. And it's just a much better flow with women.
Yes.
Um, so I feel like I felt that I innately was female.
Mhm.
But from the time I was 5, trying on dresses, I always was, drawn to everything pretty. And even though I was a boy, I let my hair grow. And my parents just kind of let me alone. I don't think they understood it so much, but
Mhm.
I think in the other interview we did on FaceTime, I think we talked about how my parents had taken me to a lot of like psychiatrists because they didn't know what was going on. They didn't know what to expect from me at the breakfast or dinner table, depending on how I felt. I would come down in a dress, or I may come with my hair up in a ponytail and may have earrings on. I mean, you never knew what to what you're gonna get with me. But
Yeah.
it was also that me kept me connecting as a female and me being creative. So I think that was it too.
Well, I think also on some level, you had a disregard and not in a bad way, but you were so kind of connected with your true self and your authenticity that it almost sounds like you were living your authentic truth before it was hip or cool to do so, right? Like you were just being yourself and you're looking around
Yeah.
like what? And your parents didn't make you feel different because of how you were showing up or living. And so if it were me, if I put myself in your shoes, I would imagine that I'm going through life just like, well, this is just me. until somebody tells you differently. So
Exactly.
do you remember and can you share with us kind of like your first awareness of, oh, like I'm actually moving through life differently than a lot of people?
Well, you know what? I think, my mom was a very straightforward person. And my mom was kind of funny in a way, but always very intuitive and almost like everything she said was almost like prophetic. And so I remember my mom catching me kind of dressed, as a girl. And I was standing on top of not the dining room table, the coffee table in the living room. I didn't think anyone was home. And my mom just looked at me and she's like, "You are such a weirdo." And she said, "You know what? You're very gifted and you're very talented. You can do anything you want, but your road is not going to be all that easy
Hmm.
because you're different. And sometimes different doesn't always work in society. But I, in my opinion, she said, I think it's better to be different than better to be, just basically basic."
Yeah.
And so I thought about it a lot. And I think that gave me a lot of confidence
Yeah.
in just standing in my own truth and just being who I was. And I didn't know how to be anyone else anyways, right? So I never really, I'm a non-conformist,
Yes.
I was always altering my clothes, leave one way, come back home the next. I was always expressing myself. And as much as I didn't want to have attention drawn to me, the way
Yes.
I was drawing more attention to me.
Of course.
I'm a massive, I guess I was a massive contradictions and still am. That's why it was always surprising people, like certain stages in my life and the getting married to a woman and having kids and to transitioning, after my kids got to a certain age, because I didn't want to do that until they would understand what that meant or why I'm doing it and how.
Yeah. And partially too, because you had lived your life as a gay man for X number of years.
Most of my life,
Yeah.
because I felt that was just what it is. And I had my first, long-term relationship when I was like, what, 18 years old. It lasted for like almost 15 years. So
Wowza.
that was safe for me, and I guess it was okay, and I guess in retrospect, looking back, there were certain kind of role play.
Hmm.
He was more of the man and I was more of the, but I
The
never.
traditional top and bottom
Yeah.
archetypes.
I think I got that right. But yeah. And I'm not one to think of like what a woman should do, what a man should do,
Right.
because like, we're partners.
Yeah.
It was, you know what I mean? It was just how it just unfolded that way. And I still felt like I was a gay man, but I still felt like I was a woman.
So at the
I,
time, then, I'm glad you said that. So at the time when you were in this 15-year relationship with a man as a gay man, was that version of you, did it feel fully authentic, or were there parts of you that you still felt like you were hiding, suppressing, or settling in?
felt that I was in a character maybe, but
Ah,
I
playing
felt
a
like,
role.
yeah, a role. And I felt like I was not being my total authentic self, that
Hmm,
I was being, it was the status quo and I felt comfortable in the relationship, even though in any relationship, there's, ups and downs and problems.
say it.
But I still said, look, I guess this is what it is.
Hmm,
And this is how I guess I will be. I knew I had to break out and I knew I had to be who I was internally. I just didn't have that clock inside to say, okay, this time I gotta do it. I always felt that if I was in a relationship, I didn't feel the need to. For some strange reason, I felt
yeah,
like there's something that accept me for all of who I am. He knew the feminine parts of me. It didn't bother him. A lot of gay men, they don't like any kind of femininity in a man.
right.
And then some gay men, a few do. So I think I was maybe lucky enough I was putting on makeup and stuff with
Wow.
him. And he never said he didn't like it. He never said that, why are you doing that? He never said, why are you wearing your hair? I mean, he always just supported everything I did. So
Beautiful.
I felt that was a part of me that was being myself, but I wasn't totally being who
Yeah.
I really was as a female,
And
So
it sounds too like the relationship itself was not a bad it was a good relationship. And so there's almost this piece that's like, well, I don't want to rock the boat. Would that be, is that resonant?
and in the beginning it was a great relationship,
Oh,
as we were both like growing, because we were
yeah.
very close in age. And he was in college and that sort of thing. And I dropped out of college. And so, and I want to I just want to do hair. I just want to be what I wanted to be. I did go to beauty school and I did go to Vidal Sassoon in London
Oh,
and
nice.
just to learn my chops. But I, in the beginning, it was good. But then as he was getting into the college life and he was meeting friends and meeting certain kind of friends that were getting into more like the drug thing and the drinking, it altered his personality and he became very abusive,
Ah,
very different. So I feel like it didn't end up being that great. And it seemed like I had maybe one until you can acknowledge your patterns in life. And I've learned a great lesson that people only do to you what you allow them to do,
exactly.
to find my part in it, to make my peace with it and actually get my power back.
Hmm.
Because I always meet someone that wanted to control and do that kind of thing. So um,
Wow.
I have to say that luckily, I still know I'm friendly with him, not my first boyfriend. And
Wow.
he's in a relationship with a man, and he's not a drug addict. Or he was actually really bad at one time, really like the drugs for years after, even up until the time he went to land his first job.
Wow.
And so he was a functioning drug addict, but he was spending a lot
Yeah.
of money on drugs, and I was had to, actually fill in for the shortcomings financially and otherwise, but. And he always say he was sorry after we got it, after he would basically, physically beat me up, basically. And I realized it wasn't him, it was the drugs. But sometimes we make excuses for people, and then you're not supposed, you shouldn't be in that relationship anymore.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
time to go. So I actually moved on from that. And after I moved on from that, I was saying that, what do I want to do beside my career? Am I going to transition and be who I really be my true self? And so I think that I don't know, I had a yearning to have kids. Maybe that biological clock that women feel,
Yes.
before it gets too late. I was feeling that, and I said, "Well, I got to choose because I can't transition and then like have kids, and who's going to be the mother? Who's going to do this? How I'm going to do this?" And it just
All
so
the
happened
dynamics.
all the dynamics.
Yes.
I had those pangs about like really wanting to be a parent. I really wanted to be a mother, but a father is fine. I knew I had to. I knew it was meant for me to be a parent. I knew that. That it's like so deep inside you. It's like I knew that was the time.
Yes.
And then I met my kid's mom, and she's a writer and an author, and we connected on a lot of different levels, and we talked about it. We're introduced to each other, and we met and we just started like seeing each other every day. We'll take these long walks. We'll walk on the Brooklyn Bridge, over the Queensboro Bridge, walk from like Harlem to the Village, and just talking about, and she was a lesbian or fluid, right? And next thing you know, we were just, planning to have a family. I didn't expect to get married, but I was advised to get married, and it
Yeah.
was fine. And I got married. We got married in Connecticut, in between Greenwich and Stamford, Connecticut. And it was beautiful because her grandmother had a house there. So everything was We got married out there a chapel there, and then we had a reception at her grandmother's house, which is beautiful. It was all the like shit about like four, I think like 10 acres, all the trees, and except all the tables and white roses and white orchids. It was pretty, and it was a great day.
Would you say it was your dream wedding? Other other than the fact that you were the groom instead of the
Um,
bride?
would have been my dream wedding if I was
Yes,
the bride, if I was the bride.
yes,
It would have been perfect. It would have been
yes.
absolutely perfect.
Wow.
Things happened in that the day of my wedding. My sister got definitely ill, had to be rushed to the hospital, and
No.
because she had, was taking drugs and drinking at the same time. So it happened. So that was that. But all in all, it was a beautiful, beautiful day. And when we got married, she was pregnant with my son Ephraim.
Okay. So I
We
have
tried.
a question for you then. You
Sure.
lived your life as a gay male for decades. You get out of the relationship that kind of was keeping you living beyond where you wanted to really be living, right? As a woman. Uh,
Right.
you have this strong desire to be a mom. However, you didn't
Yeah.
want to confuse your children by having your transition and then birthing the children and then just having to deal with all of that. Um, what will we call it? Complications.
Confusion.
And so you committed, you moved forward and you had your kids and you created this, from the outside looking in, beautiful life. And yet there was still a longing to live fully as the truth of who you are. So,
Right.
what was the inner dialogue that finally made you say, it's time?
Oh, it's time to transition, you mean? Well, I think I always had that dialogue in my head. And when I got married to the kid's mom, I felt like I was almost in purgatory because I couldn't kind of move one left or right because I have my kids now. God has given me what I wanted. So we just didn't get on. So fate may have just had it that, like my kids, after being married for 6 years, I think my kids were 4 and 2 at the time.
Wow, young.
And yeah, and then I actually, it was funny. It was just a weird time, and I had to leave, and I actually moved down the block from them. I wanted to be close to my
Of
kids.
course.
It's what I wanted. And then she actually pressed for the divorce. And she filed for that. It was an abandonment, and it is what it is. And then it became a big like custody battle. And she wanted to have total custody and total say over everything, and I wasn't having that. So I had to hire a very expensive lawyer. I mean, I don't mind like having joint custody, but giving you say and I don't know. So that was that. So I think I had the inner dialogue was like after that. I knew it was time. I knew it was like overdue, but my kids were still young, 4 and 2, and still formative years. And I wanted to spend time with them and watch them grow and not them focusing on me like, okay, what's happening to dad? I mean, is dad a woman? I didn't want that kind of confusion. So, but my son told me maybe a couple of months ago, he's like, well, Dad, I always knew you were gay because, and I'm not surprised because you always wore makeup, as far as I remember. May not be as much as I wear now, but I always had like foundation or powder
Yeah.
or whatever. So my kids weren't so surprised. I mean, I have a transgender son, like I said, and my oldest son is gay. So this is like the new modern family, right? So I think that. And I find my oldest son is very much like, I mean, he looks a lot like me as well, but I think that I don't think he's trans per se, but I think he's much more like, I mean, he's so smart. He's much smarter than I was at that age. And and just intuitive. Both of my kids are very intuitive, and he's just very driven, and he just tries stuff. He's like more braver than I was at the time, I think. So I'm just so blessed to have them. So I wanted to like take care of that relationship and make sure that they were going to be okay. So like
Yeah.
I said in the other interview we did, that my daughter was 10 years old. She said she's a boy. I said, "Ooh, this sounds familiar, but I'm going to take it as it is and see what happens." She's still very young. And, and part of me kind of thought that she would be like that because even the way she's built, she's got broad shoulders. And even as a baby, she was very long and she had broad shoulders. And she was very beautiful otherworldly. She was born with like violet eyes. And they were
Wow.
violet eyes. And they didn't change until like hazel green until maybe she was I don't know, maybe two or 3 years old. They started to change, but they were like she looked otherworldly. Honest, I said, "Who does this child belong to?" If I didn't know any better, but she looks like she's a combination of us both. Even though none of us have light eyes at all, but genes are recessive, so. But that dialogue had always been going. The dialogue in my head about being who I was, I don't think it ever stopped. It's
Yeah.
something that never stopped because just like who you are and what you want to be and how you connect and move through the world, I think it starts early. So that reel never stops, right?
Yeah.
Goes on and on, and then you might get distracted, think of other things, and then you think about like, okay, how am I going to navigate my life from here? What's
Well,
going to
when your
happen?
children ended up really owning their truth and living in their truth, one as a gay son, and the other who comes to you and says, I know I was born a woman, but I'm actually a trans man, that
Yeah,
also probably freed you, liberated you in
it
some
did.
ways.
It did. And I think that, like I say, kids are very evolved nowadays. And I think that my kids are very smart. And I think they taught me,
Mm,
a lot
mm,
and informed me a lot. I mean, I think I told you Shalom was born with cleft lip and palate. So she had
right.
her first surgery when she was 6 months old.
Hmm.
Shalom had gone through maybe nine surgeries. And I think the last couple was when she had the jaw surgery. So we had to find someone that actually really was world renowned to do that surgery. It was
Yeah.
a cranial specialist, like bone and cranial specialist that did it. But when the first one was really good with specialized with doing for children, and now Shalom had the jaw done when she last year, and so we got this surgeon who actually who did my surgery, because I was so impressed with how meticulous he was. And I mean, it was a hard surgery for Shalom
Yeah. It's
because
almost like your baby led the way and led you to the resources and the surgeon. And
yeah,
that's so
yeah, yeah,
interesting. It's so
yeah,
interesting. And you had the same type of support, it sounds like, with your mom, and being the mom of a trans child as well. She gave you that acceptance and that compassion and um, that feeling that there's nothing wrong with you, right?
right,
And
right,
then your
exactly,
child, then 18 years later, I believe, uh,
right.
does the same thing, like
Yeah,
shows up and says, "Hey, this is who I am as well," which then liberates you even more. I mean, I
it-
just think that it was all a setup in your favor, it sounds like.
yeah, it was, and I feel like I've been so blessed
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
have your kids come to you and say, I am very proud. And of course, I was bawling and bawling and bawling and crying just to think of them saying that over and over. And just the thought of that makes me want to cry all over again.
Yes.
But I mean, it's the hormones, you know what that's like. But
They see you. They've always seen you. They've always heard you, and they saw you even when you were looking to hide, even when you were trying to hide in some areas, right? So let me ask you this question, because as you were talking, I'm like, okay, there's one mindset that says, I know I'm a trans woman. I know I'm a woman, period. Even if you didn't have language of trans woman at the time, I know I'm a woman, but I'm
Right,
living in a male body as a gay man, which feels aligned, but not fully aligned. So,
right.
what's the difference between I'm settling, living as a gay man, the difference in that and what you did, which was almost like, I know this to be true, but I'm making a commitment right now to my kids for X amount of time before I actually give myself permission to live fully in my truth. Like, where is that fine line?
Well, I think that the fine line comes with my kids, and I think my kids was like a sacrifice, you know.
Yeah, making a
Children
sacrifice.
are
Hmm.
children are a gift, you
Yeah.
know. Not everyone's able to be a parent, and I knew that I wanted it so bad. And
Mm,
I said that I wanted it. I sacrificed a part of who I wanted to be a parent.
mm,
And so
mm.
I felt that these kids needed to be born and born, and I felt like I would be a good parent.
Yeah.
Well, I think that I think the difference is sacrifice. I didn't sacrifice much of anything
Hmm.
to be a gay man, right? Because I was in a relationship. It was a small sacrifice. Um, but my kids was a gratifying sacrifice. I have no regrets about it. I would do it over. Um, maybe do just a few things differently, maybe, but
Yeah, of
not
course.
not a whole lot, though. No, no.
Wow.
That is just all about sacrifice, and we all make those sacrifices for our kids
Exactly.
and for people that we love and care for. You know, we do make those different allowances.
I really like that distinction. That was what I was hearing when you were speaking, because my perception was that you were settling to be a gay man for all of those years instead of really stepping into your
Well,
truth.
you know what?
Never,
A part of me did settle for that time being because I was like, a part of me was comfortable with
of
the
course, there's
arrangement.
that.
So
Uh-huh.
there is a part of me that said, okay, this is okay for now. So
Mm,
settle for now instead of like I could have said, well, I don't think I want to do this. I want to find myself and get myself together and then find a partner. But I was 18 years old. You know, what do you know? You think you know it all at 18, but you know nothing, diddly squat.
that's
So
true.
I think that it just felt good. And I felt like it was, I was in love,
Yeah.
whether I was gay or whether I was a transgender woman or it just felt good,
Yeah.
to love
You're
you
just
like
present as a human in that experience for as long
that.
as it was aligned, it sounds like.
Right. So it was a settling in a sense for that, but it didn't feel like it because it just
Yeah.
felt it was truthful and it was beautiful. I was in love.
So speaking of settling, we're in conversation and it looks like I'm going to be welcoming you to be a part of volume 2 of our Anatomy of Abundance book.
Yeah.
And the subtitle for that book is The Evolution of Women Who Refuse to Settle.
Right.
So even though we haven't started writing and solidifying all of that just yet,
Right.
I would love to
Mhm.
hear just your intuitive hit on the direction that your chapter will speak to.
Well, I think my chapter will speak to uh, the fact that I'm a trans woman, but I've always understood the plight of the Black woman that will making something out of nothing. So I developed my career very early on, doing clients' hair in their homes. I mean, pretty much grassroots and doing hair extensions at the time. So I think that that was the nucleus of my beginning of being a professional person or that would soon be a professional transgender woman. But I innately embodied that. And I would get a lot of, I'm sure a lot of Black women would say, you would never know what it's like or whatever, being around and being raised and being friends with a lot of Black women and seeing what they go through and hearing their stories. I may not have experienced that, but my story is pretty similar to a lot of Black women because a lot of Black women are I mean, I was fortunate to not have grown up in being without, but I found that a lot of Black women are taken advantage of and taken for granted and being abused, and it's a high rate of that. And I can speak to that as well, and speak to the fact that I was with a partner who was really smart, but always felt kind of envious of me in a
Mhm.
way. He grew envious my very first boyfriend because it just seemed like I could, wake up one morning and not have not much in my bank, and I can go out and hustle and do two hair extension jobs, and I have money. Money for the rent and everything else. So I think that it made him feel less of,
Emasculated in a sense.
yeah. And I feel like a lot of Black men may feel that way. So you have a lot of Black men find it's easier to go to date a more docile woman or another woman from another race that they feel is not so strong, because I think we innately are strong. I'm a strong person. I've gone through a lot. I wouldn't have lasted this long, right?
Yeah.
And so different
Yeah.
stages I've gone through. But yeah, I think that it comes from that, the strength of a Black woman and examples that I've seen.
Yes.
And
Well, and
so
the fact that you chose it, even being exposed to the plight of a Black woman, is phenomenal within itself
well,
because
it's like I
there are
don't think
benefits
I
to
don't
living as a man.
yeah, I don't think I chose. I think it chose me
I
because
chose you.
that's how I
I
was
chose
this is
you.
how I was born.
Wowza.
It wasn't like I decided like I'm going to be a Black woman, strong Black woman, but it has, and I've had women or clients say, I just feel so comfortable. You're like a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I would chuckle to myself. And I remember this makeup artist that I work with, and she's got a really cool discernment, and she says to me, don't take this the wrong way. She said, but it's just something about you that's just very woman to me. And she's like, I just feel like I can be myself and I can
Yeah.
tell you things and be okay. And I said, I think that's a compliment. I mean, she had no idea that what I was doing,
Yes.
at the time. But she said that to me as I was, when I went to, I was like maybe in my last years at Julian Farrell, 'cause I think I started transitioning seriously maybe like 8 years ago, and I started wearing like skirts, kind of incorporated. But it's so funny because every time I did that, it was a trend. Guys were wearing kilts, guys were wearing
That's so
skirts.
funny.
So it didn't seem like no one thought about anything. They said, "Oh yeah, that I saw this guy and this rapper that had that skirt on. That's cool." So it was not like me painting my nails. Oh, I saw one of the basketball players having his nails done, his nail and his feet done. So I was like, it just didn't
So
seem like,
natural, it seems. But it's-
yeah. So it wasn't like, oh, why you wearing that skirt? It's like- It was never like that. Everyone just was like, oh, that's Andre in a dress today. Okay.
Yeah.
They didn't realize that I was going from that and getting more and more makeup, and then because I was a wig designer, so I started wearing my wigs.
That was only a few years ago, right?
That was
Maybe
that
two
was
years.
about 2, 3 years ago, and I started wearing my wigs, and I said, "Well, I'm promoting my product, right?"
Yes.
And people were like, "Oh, well, yeah, that sounds
Makes
that's
sense.
great." Yeah. So I can't say it was a hard transition,
Yeah.
and
It's a blessed transition, it sounds like to me.
yes, because if I did it early, who knows? Maybe it would have been harder for me. I
Right.
don't know. I think in this day and time, as hard as things are, and as tough as this present presidential administration is going for, a lot of trans community and taking certain funding away from them. I think that it's still the people are more accepting,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's a strong community because he's that administration. It won't win because it's so many powerful people that are in the closet for
Yeah.
one, that support the LGBTQ community. They're not going to let that happen. But
Mhm.
we still have to keep fighting. We have to keep fighting as women. We're going to keep fighting as minorities. We're going to keep fighting.
Yeah. And not everybody's fight looks the same. Not all fights are like outward and rah, right? There's a lot of, I believe, change that comes from more of a quiet disruption
And
and quiet activism.
sometimes you gotta fight by example, leading example, and being an inspiration and letting people know how you navigate yourself through this life and how you don't compromise being who you are. And that's why I put everything out there on social media, everything I did as far as plastic surgery. Because you know what? If you don't, people are gonna still dig it up and find out anyway, and they're gonna talk about it. So they can't really say anything really.
Control the narrative. Yeah, exactly.
They can't say
Wow.
anything. And as I've been doing some writing, I'm really basically telling all of a lot of stuff. You know, I think my family would probably be very surprised.
Yes.
And the good and the bad. Because when you write stories, a lot of stories are not all picture perfect and things. You know, that's
Yeah.
boring. It's boring. Even
Yeah.
though I had a lot of great highlights and I met a lot of great people in my life, you know. It's I mean, if I died today or tomorrow, I can say I had a blessed life.
Yes, that's what I was thinking actually. The whole time I was listening, I was like, despite the journey and the hardships and the challenges, which we all have stories, right? Of overcoming so many different things. But
Yeah.
overall, it feels to me like you've had a pretty charmed life that
I don't think that I
he's
have.
always pretty much aligned itself to support you in getting where you needed to be.
Yeah, you know, like you said, we all have dark moments, but somehow the light, for the most part, always followed me. And I
Yeah.
felt like I always followed that light, you know, and never got discouraged or never said, woe is me. Or, you know, I
Yeah.
remember I used to, a period of my time, like after you go through so much and you're like, God, why me? And then I remember a voice, I would say it's God. He's like, why not?
Yes. Why not you?
What
Yeah.
makes you think that you're any different from anyone else that go through trials and struggles and things like that. So yeah, it just changed the whole perspective for me. Like, so when I do face adversity, I'm like, okay, God, what am I to learn from this? How
Mm-hmm.
am I going to overcome this? How am I going to turn this around? And so I don't really think of like, oh my God, I feel like feeling sorry for myself. There's no time for
Yes.
that.
No,
And I can't
absolutely
be
not.
around anybody that feels sorry for themselves.
Yes.
No, I just can't. I
Yeah.
can't.
Well,
Uh-uh.
I feel blessed that we were able to have this conversation, and we were kind
Yeah.
of concerned that talked about so much on the IG Live that we wouldn't have anything
I
on the
know.
podcast. But I actually feel like this was divinely aligned, that the
Yeah.
conversation was exactly what people need to hear in
Yeah,
this
and
moment.
also about a sisterhood, whether you're, you know, transgender woman or whether you're a cis woman, doesn't matter. But I'm so proud of you, like I said before, and you learn from people's experience. And when I found out you know, the trials and tribulations and the trauma that must have gone through, the grief, I'm like, wow, because I said to myself, how do you come back from that?
Mhm.
And then when I see you come out and you're just blossoming and just basically international, and you're getting everyone together, and you're inspiring other women to be strong, and you can't get any greater than that. That's the
Yeah.
greatest thing you can give.
And to be strong in a different way, not to be strong in a like, the way that we typically are associated especially as Black women, strong Black women, but in a way that's very feminine and sovereign and
Yeah,
peaceful. And I really feel like you've done that in your life, living as woman, whether you were physically a male or physically a woman as you are now. I feel like part of the reason you've lived this charmed life, this blessed life, and that doors have opened for you is because you always did live in your truth.
yeah, yeah.
No
I
matter
mean,
what it looked like externally, just from a
exactly.
child, you were just Andre.
Yeah, and I still have it. My nephew said, you know,
Yeah.
one of my nephews said, "Well, I don't know. I'm confused." I said, "What are you confused about? I'm just the same person. I just kind
Yes.
of transitioned to who I'm truly am, and
Yes.
I am a woman now, and always have been. The person that you know that played around with you as a kid and bought you ice cream and sat and watching, look at cartoons and that's me still. And
Yeah.
still childish nature about me because I still love kids. I mean, if
Yeah.
I have more kids, I probably would, but that's not gonna happen.
Well,
But
I'll say that the world is so blessed to have you. I'm blessed to have you in my life, and I'm
don't
so
make me
happy.
start crying now.
I know, right? But I'm so happy we've come back together,
Yes.
in this
Me
time.
too. I am
Yeah.
too.
And
It's been a blessing.
I look forward to what we're going to co-create together with the book and who knows what else.
It's going to be good.
It is going to be good. So thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule at your studio
Thank
today.
you so much. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure sitting down and talking, and I always get more after our conversations because I feel like I just came back from my therapist's office.
And where can our viewers, where can the people watching you, where's the best place for them to connect with you?
Well, they can connect with me on Andre Celebrity Hair, Andre Celeb Hair on Instagram. It's Andre Celebrity Hair on Facebook. I am on TikTok, but not that much. I'm still kind of branching out,
Yes.
developing my YouTube channel. I've been
Uh-huh.
doing that for like years. I start and then I stop and I
Yeah.
start and I stop.
Where
But
would you say you spend the most time? Instagram would be my guess. Yeah.
Instagram, a lot
Yeah.
of it, because a
Instagram.
lot of my clients are on there, so that's how they catch up with me, and that's how I get a lot of DMs about like hair questions. But now my hair questions have been overshadowed by my personal transition. So it's so
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can
That
expect that because that's what I
happens.
put out there, what
Yeah.
you put out, you get back, right?
Of
So,
course.
but I'm trying to turn that narrative now
No.
my back to my hair business and my hair and inspiring women to take care of their hair and to be feminine and to if you want a certain kind of man, you got to live in your femininity and there's power in that. And you can't expect that if you don't take care of yourself. You can't expect that if you don't like have self-care and take care of yourself.
I love it. I love it. That's a whole other episode because I'm a obsessed with
Oh,
self-care.
you are Miss Self-Care, Miss Beauty Spa woman. Oh,
Yeah.
honey, I'm going with you on those beauty spa. Events. Oh, yes, because I love a good massage. I love a good facial, and I work here and partner with the spa here,
Yes.
so I get my facials and everything done here. And
Yeah.
after my surgery, I had the lymphatic drainage.
Oh, great.
I was really, really blessed to have that. So and that we have everything here. We have the hyperbaric chamber, the LED lighting. I haven't gone in the oxygen chamber. I'm too claustrophobic. I can't.
Okay.
But I mean, I wanted to, but I have to be on serious drugs because you can't like come out of that. Take
Yeah.
climatized, so it takes 10 minutes. It's almost like panic.
Yes. Yeah, that could be a lot.
Yeah,
Well,
but
again, I'm
it's
just
been a
so
great time.
appreciative that we were able to do this. I know that the people watching and listening got so much from this interview. And I just want to welcome everybody to join us again next week for another episode of Living Room Wisdom, where your story is your glory. All right. We'll see you
Amen.
soon. Take care. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
I love you so much. You take care.
You
We'll be talking
too.
again soon.